Hey everyone, it's Tara. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing another collection video. This time though, I'm going to be doing my historical romances. So I'll show you all the historical romances that I own. And my historical collection is all up here. Unfortunately, you can't see it. It's cut on the frame. But I'll pull them down and I'll show each one and give you like a little bit of summary. So if you want to see what historicals or historical romances I have, just keep watching. First one I'm going to start with is my current read, and that one is Bombshell by Sarah MacLean. So this one is about Lady Cecily Talbot, and she is kind of has like a scandalous reputation and is like known throughout the community as being kind of scandalous, and she goes off into rendezvous, but these rendezvous aren't really what people think they are. And Caleb Calhoun is her best friend, or her sister's best friend, and he has always noticed Cecily, and they kind of have their lives kind of get entangled. And the story goes from there. I'm about like a fourth of the way through, and I'm enjoying it. So the next one in my collection is The Marquess Makes a Move by Diana Quincy. This is actually a recent addition to my collection, and this one is about Rose, who is the family map maker. But if people find out that she is, a woman is behind being a map maker during that time, it can lead to scandal. So obviously she has to hide it, but a new footman is hired on to like the grounds, I guess, and he kind of has a secret. He is actually the Marquess of Brandon, but he I guess he felt jilted or something because she potentially, her family, he doesn't know it's her, drew like the map wrong, and he lost some of his property because of that. And so he's trying to figure out, did they do that on purpose, or what is behind that. So it seems interesting, and I can't wait to read it. So the next one I have is also by Diana Quincy, and it is Her Night with the Duke, and it is about Lady Delilah Chambers, and she is like stranded in a country inn, and she has to like combat some ruffians who are trying to like harm her. So she ends up getting help from like a stranger, and they end up having like one reckless night together, and then go their separate ways. But then of course come to find out that he is actually Elliot Townsend. He's the Duke of Huntington, and fate comes in, and he's actually dead set on trying to marry her stepdaughter. But of course, things happen from there, and they kind of like try and stay away from each other. But of course, when passion, you can't. So this one seems fun and interesting. So the next one is Silk for Seduction by Loretta Chase, and this one has a pretty step back. And this one is about Marceline Nero, who is a dressmaker in London, and she's like up and coming, and so she wants to kind of dress the Duke of Clevedon's intended bride, who isn't a very good dresser. And so to get that deal going, she has to kind of like impress or win over the Duke, and they kind of end up noticing that they have an attraction, or like a spark between them two. So it kind of goes from there. Seems like an interesting, and I saw this Loretta Chase, and I figured, well, why not grab it and see what she's all about. So the next one I have is by Lisa Kleypas, and it's Tempt Me at Twilight, and this is has a pretty step back too. And this one is about Poppy Hathaway, who it's like a marriage of convenience, or not marriage of convenience, but like they have to get married because because of reputations are compromised, and so it's between her and Harry Rutledge, who's an hotel owner and inventor, and it's kind of like their love story from there, kind of getting to know each other. So this one seems good, and I can't wait to read it. So the next one I have is also by Lisa Kleypas, and it is Because You're Mine. And this one is about Lady Madeline Matthews. She is kind of being forced to wed an older lecherous lord, and she doesn't want to. So she kind of like concocts a plan to get ruined by Logan Scott, and he is Britain's most notorious womanizer, and it kind of goes from there. So that one seems like a lot of fun. So the next one I have is by Stacy Reed, and it's Her Wicked Marquess. And this is the second one in the Sinful Wallflower series. I read the first one, which was My Darling Duke, and I really enjoyed that one, so I want to give this one a shot. And so this one is Miss Marianne Fitzwilliam. She is kind of bookish and witty, so of course nobody wants to marry her back in those times. And so she's arranged to wed a man who's like old enough to be her dad, and she doesn't want to do that. So she kind of takes things into her own hands, and like the gossip papers show Nicholas St. Ives, who's the Marquess of Rothbury, coming out of a window of somebody, and so she says it's her to kind of ruin herself so she doesn't have to go through with this marriage. So can't wait to read this one, and I liked Stacy Reed's writing on her first one, so I wanted to continue on. So the next one I have is also by Lisa Kleypas, and this one is Dreaming of You. And this one is about Sarah Fielding, like a shy and secluded author, and she is researching a novel, and she kind of inadvertently witnesses a crime, and ends up saving the life of the most dangerous man in London, and his name is Jared Craven, and he is like a club owner. He was born and raised in the streets, and so she's like the last person that he wants to fall for, so he tries to like protect her from himself, and it's kind of their love story from there. Seems good. So the next one I have is The Devil of Downtown by Joanna Shoup, and this is the second one in the Uptown Girls series. I did read the first one, which was The Rogue of Fifth Avenue, and I enjoyed Joanna Shoup's writing, so I wanted to continue on in the series. And this one is about Jack Mulligan, who is he was orphaned and abandoned, and forced to like kind of live on the streets and become strong and cunning to survive. And he goes and he meets Justine Green, who is devoted to tracking down like deadbeat husbands and fighting for fair working conditions. And so they're cross path, and they form an alliance, and it kind of goes from there. But it seems interesting, so I wanted to continue on in the series, and I can't wait to read this one. So the next one I also have is by Joanna Shoup, and it's The Bride Goes Rogue. This one is about Catherine Delafield, and she is like set to marry Preston Clark, and her dad like set it up years ago. The only thing is Preston doesn't acknowledge it, and so she kind of like gives up and says, okay, I'm done with trying to marry you and trying for love. I'm gonna go live my life. And they ultimately like accidentally meet at like a masquerade ball, and of course they don't know who each other are, I believe, and it kind of goes from there when he realizes that he likes this woman, and it ends up being her. So it's cute, or it seems cute. The next one I have is The Good Girl's Guide to Rigs by Ava Lee. So this one is Kieran Ransom, and his antics kind of cause a scandal, and so his dad gives him an ultimatum: either you find a respectable wife or you inherit nothing. And that's kind of where Celeste Kilburn comes in. She has a really like spotless reputation, but she kind of like doesn't like that because she wants to like have some adventure, and so she kind of longs to escape and go off and have adventures. What I have is Highlander Most Wanted by Maya Banks, and this is the Montgomerys and Armstrongs part of that series, and I read the first one and enjoyed it. Alright, I don't know if I read the first one, but I read one of them. I Never Used to Scott, and that one was good, and that's part of the series. Anyways, so this one is Highlander Most Wanted, and this one is about Genevieve McGinnis, and she is actually locked behind the McHugh keep, and she's like captive or held captive there, and when Bill Montgomery like kind of storms the gates, he finds her, and it's kind of their story from there. So the next one I have is also it's part of the Sinful Wallflower series by Stacey Reed, and it's A Scoundrel of Her Own. And this one, is about Lady Ophelia Darby, and she is like part of two worlds. One where she is the daughter of like a powerful marquess, and the other one where she is the songstress in the underworld, in like the shadows. She's actually protected by a man named Devlin Byrne, and she kind of figures out, I guess, a secret about her dad, and so she needs help from Devlin to like figure out some things, and so they kind of go from there, and it's their love story. So the next one I have is My American Duchess by Eloisa James, and this one has a beautiful step back. And this one is about the Duke of Trent, and he is looking to marry a well-bred English woman, but then he has an encounter with Mary Pelford, who he thought he would like never want to marry, but they end up obviously like getting along, and kind of goes from there. However, she's already betrothed to marry someone else, and since she's already been engaged twice, she's like kind of making herself go through with it. So it goes from there, and it's their little story. I like this one, it seems pretty interesting. So the next one I have is The Heiress Gets a Duke by Harper St. George, and this one is, I believe, yes, Marriage of Convenience, and it's between American heiress named August Crenshaw. She's kind of considered unmarriageable because she's progressive for the time. She wants to help with the family business and kind of run it, but she meets the Duke of Rothschild, and he is like set to wed her sister, but it's August who he really wants. So it's kind of like their love story from there, and it seems interesting and right up my alley. So the next one I have is also by Ada Lee, and it is What I Lied to the Duke, and this one is part of a series, the Union of the Rakes series. I believe this is the second one in that series. And this one, the back says, when an ambitious entrepreneur pretends to be a lady of means, she catches the eye and heart of the Duke. So that one seems like a lot of fun, kind of has some like hijinks going on, so I can't wait to read it. Next one I have is by Lindsay Sands, and it's An English Bride in Scotland, and this one is part of a series, the first one in a series. I believe it's the Highland Bride series, and so this one is about Annabelle, and she's about to take the veil to become a nun when her mother suddenly arrived at the Abbey to take her home so that she can marry the Scottish laird who is betrothed to her runaway sister. So that one seems fun, kind of starts off on like with some action, so can't wait to read that one. So the next one I have is Any Duchess Will Do by Tessa Dare. I've actually read from Tessa Dare before, and I enjoyed her writing, so I wanted to give another book a shot, and this one is about Griffin York, and he's the Duke of Halford, and he has obviously no desire to wed, which is like a trope in historical romances, but then he meets Pauline Sims, and it's kind of like their love story from there. So the next one I have is Third Sons of Charm by Shanna Galen, and this one is fiercely loyal to his friends and comrades. Ewan Moston is the toughest in a group of younger sons of nobility who met as soldiers and are now trying desperately to settle back into peaceful society. He trusts his brawn more than his brains, but when he's offered a job watching the Duke of Ridlington's stubbornly independent daughter, he finds both are challenged. So that one seems like a fun read and a good historical romance. Next one I have I've actually read, and it's Never Seduce a Scot by Maya Banks. This is part of the Montgomerys and Armstrongs series, and this one is an arranged marriage between Eveline and Graham, and they're kind of like forced to get married by like the king so that their like rival clans can kind of get along. And she actually is what, like, there was an accident. She's considered what they call touched. She's actually deaf, and her family, she like never told her family. She hasn't told them. And so, but she like learns to read lips, and it's kind of like their love story from there. I enjoyed this one. I thought it was really good. I think I ended up giving it like a 5-star. So we're coming down to the end, and the next one I have is The Duchess Hunt by Lorraine Heath. And this one is about Penelope Pettypiece, and she actually works for the Duke of Kingsland, Hugh Brinsley Norton, and they kind of like are secretly pining for each other. But she kind of has to help him. He's on the hunt for a duchess, and she has to help him on that hunt, but obviously feelings get involved, and they realize that they both like each other, and it kind of progresses from there. This one seems cute, and I can't wait to read it. The last one I have is A Reckless Match by Kate Bateman, and this one I believe is like a hate to love. It does say in the back, it says meet the Davies and Montgomery families, two households locked in an ancient feud, destined to be opposing sides forever until now. So this one seems good. I do love enemies to lovers, or like hate to love trope, so I can't wait to read this one. It seems fun, and I believe it'll be my first one. So that is my entire historical romance collection. Let me know if you've read any of these, and if you've enjoyed them, or if you've found any of them interesting. Just let me know in the comments below. Like and subscribe if you would like to, and I will just talk to you all later. Bye.